Hi, this is Ray Luskin, the creative activist. Make the world better, one person, one action at a time. And today our guest is Ross Holzman, a San Francisco-based artist, social entrepreneur, and peace activist. He is the founder and executive director of the Create Peace Project. Ross's passion for facilitating collaborative arts experiences and empowering positive feelings through creativity has led him to launch numerous Art for Peace projects. Ross is a published author, accomplished public speaker, and arts facilitator, having led more than 125 peace exchange workshops, 30 banners for peace workshops, and several murals. He has worked with more than 15,000 children in schools across the United States, Uganda, India, Nepal, and Ghana since 2009. Welcome, Ross.
Thanks, Ray. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you, too. I would love to know what inspired your work.
The short and sweet of it is basically there's too much violence in the world, and as I started waking up to that reality and I looked around, you realize that arts education is probably the first thing that gets cut from our schools, and budget cuts across the country destroy arts and music and the creative arts kind of first and foremost. And so I had a profound experience in my life about 15 years ago in which I really woke up to the reality of what was going on in the world and in my relationship to the world. And so I paired creativity and peace as a really natural partnership through my own experience as a catalyst for waking up, as a catalyst for self-discovery. Can
you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure. I spent a year in India in 2001 and 2002 working for a call center consulting firm, and it changed my life. I saw a whole new perspective on the way we as people live and the realities of the socioeconomic challenges and the plight and the struggles of just a whole different place, another world, really. And then when I came back to the U.S., I moved to Los Angeles. And the metaphor that I used was that I moved from the second dirtiest city in the world, New Delhi, to the number one dirtiest city in the world, Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is physically clean, but the consciousness is very stagnant, dirty. And so I had this profound sort of shift while living in LA in late 2002. And one of the things that hit me was our obsession with the material world, our abuse of the planet, the way we use the media to saturate the public eye space with consume and you're not enough and you need to buy this thing to feel good about yourself. And it was just crystal clear to me that we needed to start putting positive messages and promoting peace into the world. And that was right around the time that Bush announced we were going to war with Iraq. And it was just like all these things started signaling to me that like there was a bigger issue at play here, and I wanted to really do something about that.
Why creativity?
Why creativity? Good question. So the thing that I've experienced through art making and through creativity is that we shift our attention from looking out at the world to an inward perspective. Like when we make art, we shift inward. We start looking at ourselves and our relationship to the world around us, and we respond through movement, dance, visual art, music, all these various forms of creativity. And that process, I find, is alchemical. It's a transformative experience. Making art is the process by which we learn about ourselves, we learn about our relationship to the world, and then we respond to it, hopefully in a positive way. But that experience, I think, for people is a very important and an essential tool for deepening our connection to who we are and what our relationship to the world around us is. So what I've experienced and what I've seen is that through art making, we can actually transform our negative, charged, angry, harsh emotions into something positive, into something beautiful, and learn about who we are, and therefore the more we learn about who we are, the more at peace we can be with who we are. And I hope that those things string together to create a way for us to be in peace with the world around us.
I love that. That's beautiful. Can you talk a little bit about, why don't you talk about the organization, how you formed your nonprofit, because I think people are interested in that, and what it takes to do the work that you're doing in the world. And then let's talk about some of the programs you offer as well.
Perfect. So let's review that for a quick second. So Create Peace Project is really on a mission to raise the voices and share the visions of peace using creativity from children around the world. And the organization is about 8 years old. I've worked in countless schools. I've probably been in 300 schools in 10 different countries over the last 8 years. And what I want to, give me the question again, Ray. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I wanted people to know, when you started this and you had this idea, how did you go about creating it? Because I think there's so many people who have this, I have a big idea, I have this thing I want to do, I want to make a difference in the world, but I don't know how to begin. So what would you say to them?
Okay, great. So starting an organization really isn't that complicated. It may not always be necessary. There's so many amazing organizations out there. The first thing I would do is I would advocate for people to find the thing that they're truly passionate about in whatever cause, in whatever service, in whatever, pursuit that they want to approach, and look for a like-minded, a similar organization and join up. We don't always have to recreate the wheel. And one of the things that I found when I created Create Peace Project was that there aren't a lot of organizations that bridge the arts and peace. So I felt like I had a unique angle, and thus I had all these visions for projects that I wanted to do. And so I encapsulated them, and I talked to a nonprofit lawyer, and it really wasn't that complicated. I think the thing that really is essential is identifying the angle, identifying the area of interest that someone is really passionate about, and pursue it fully. Do the research, find the other organizations, investigate what the service or what the cause is that you want to approach, and ask a lot of questions. So for me, I was flooded with ideas. As an artist and a creative visionary, I've had multitudes of projects come through me as a conduit, really, of information from whatever the greater source in the universe is. I've been blessed with all of these brilliant ideas and visions for projects that I've now brought to life. So I've had all these things. I'm writing them down. I do a lot of writing. I think writing out ideas, flushing things out is a super important way to get clear on how you want to take something from a concept to manifest. But once I had sort of a portfolio of projects laid out in front of me, and a partner at the time would say to me, she's like, Ross, well, what are you doing? You have all these ideas, and there's no place, you can't do them all at once. And, that actually inspired me to put them inside of a container, which was I created this nonprofit, and I've since been working nonstop to fulfill the vision. So
I love that.
I think it's doable. You just, it takes patience and time and commitment and investigation, really like looking at the thing that you want to do.
Okay. Why don't you tell people about some of the projects you actually are doing right now, and how you, and just do that. I have a million questions. I know we have limited time. So
no, we're good. So when one of the things that inspired me at the outset was when I was living in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is covered in billboards. There's billboards everywhere, and the landscape is super challenging on the eyes. So I had this idea: how can we put simple, uplifting messages in these public media spaces? I really wanted just to see something other than, consume this, buy that. So I started this project by painting large-scale works on canvas, and I called it Banners for Peace. I bought a huge roll of of canvas, 10 foot tall, and it was, 50 yards long. And I started cutting off huge chunks of canvas and painting these, 30-foot long murals, basically. But the focus of the mural was a simple, positive message. One said, be light. One said, speak truth. One said, laugh a lot. And I did several of these, and they got some attention, and I hung them at events and festivals and different things. And this was, 10, 12 years ago now. And what came from that was, well, I realized I didn't want to just paint them myself. I actually wanted to paint them in collaboration with others. And through a furthering of that conversation, someone suggested, well, why don't you take it into schools? So I created an after-school program called Banners for Peace. It was a 10-week, still is, it's a 10-week-long workshop where we paint with a group of 10 to 20 students with that simple idea. Come up with a simple positive message and an accompanying work of art, and we will paint it together on this giant canvas. Then those works of art hang inside of schools. I haven't got them to the billboard yet, but I'm closer and closer to that vision, I feel like, every day. So then the natural progression for me was to go from this large-scale work to, wait, how can I make a project that's accessible to everyone rather than just like, oh, I want to create billboard-sized work? I created a postcard. So I make this 6x8-inch postcard. Initially, they were designed with positive messages on them. Create peace, breathe peace, be light. One said yes, one said love. And I had designed them like a postcard where you would color and make a work of art on the front. You would write a message of peace on the back. I printed 6,000 of these cards purely as an experiment. I gave them away. I handed them to strangers. Friends took them abroad. They went all over the world. Of the 6,000, about 800 came back with artwork and beautiful messages from, 12 to 15 different countries. And I started sharing them with people. I wanted to create an online gallery to display the art and showcase the work. And a friend of mine says, well, what's the point? Great, people are creating artwork and sharing these messages, and you want to share them, but what's the next step? So that catalyzed this idea of let's exchange them. Let's let people create them and share them basically between each other. So I went back to the schools. I created this workshop. A friend of mine invited me to come to Uganda, and the Peace Exchange was born, this international exchange of art and messages of peace between students around the world. So since 2000... Do you know
Catherine Justine in the Global Peace Project? She's in Arizona. Are you familiar with her?
Catherine, there's a woman named Catherine Justine. I don't know her. I don't think
I would love to connect you because she has this global art project where she does exchanges with every country as well, and there must be some synergy there. So I'll be happy to make that.
I think I get her newsletter or something like that.
Okay,
sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I love what you're both doing. This is just so special, and how you're creating these connections around the world. I love that. And go ahead.
You. Yeah, it's super fun. I love it. I love seeing what the kids create. I love the artwork. I love what they share. I love how young kids have so much brilliance and wisdom and innocent, just loving visions for a positive world that they just pour out freely. It's awesome. Super inspiring.
I'm just going to intercede right now. I know that you help communities and schools do needs assessments, so why don't we just pop in right now and say how they can get a hold of you and work with you? Perfect.
So our website is createpeaceproject.org, just like it sounds. And we've worked in countless schools. We're based in the Bay Area, but I am more than happy to consult with schools anywhere, really. I've visited I've personally probably been in 250 schools, having gone to Uganda, India, Nepal, Ghana, and across the Bay Area and beyond. So createpeaceproject.org. My email is ross@createpeaceproject.org. Both, you can find me on our website. We have a Facebook presence, Create Peace Project, which is another easy way to get in touch. And yeah, happy to
Fabulous.
talk, happy to help out.
Yeah, now let's go back to our interview a little bit. I would love to know about your own creative process. And when you get stuck, how do you get unstuck?
So the thing that I tell people all the time is write it down. I don't care what is happening. If you're stuck, write about being stuck. Write about the frustration. Just pour it out. I've started writing in my mid-20s as a response to really a heartbreak. And I just became obsessed with journaling, writing poetry, and just pouring out my ideas onto the page because I couldn't carry it all. It was sort of the natural response to the overwhelming amount of stuff in our brain. So I went to writing. And then while I was in India in 2001 and 2002, the overload of sensory experience, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the whole thing, it's a crazy commotional place. I started painting again, and I hadn't painted probably since middle school. So I went out and bought some paints and some canvases and just started painting. And I'm not a realistic painter. I'm an abstract painter, and it's a continuation of that, dump it out, get the feelings, get the emotions out of me so that I can feel spacious to receive, basically, and experience the world around me as present as I can be. Because I find when I'm caught up in my head or my body hurts or, I'm having a physical response to the world around me, I don't feel good. And so priority one, health. And then priority two is being a positive, peaceful person. And so in order for me to do that, I have to get all of that energy because essentially we're all energy. So I process everything through color, form, movement. I do a lot of yoga. I meditate. A lot of work with the energy that I'm experiencing coming through me in a creative way.
Okay, I love that. That was very helpful for people. What's your vision for your organization going forward? And what's the legacy you'd like to leave?
Legacy is a big question, but my vision is big.
Okay.
The Billboards for Peace project, I think, is going to be a big one. So we're going to take the Banners for Peace workshop in the schools around the Bay Area, hopefully in the new year, and we're going to pilot it here. The idea is kids create these simple, uplifting banners. We're going to let them vote on it. We'll photograph them and have an online gallery and let them vote on their favorites, and then we want to translate them onto billboards. I would like to see that project happen in cities across the country and around the world. Basically, let's take up some of the visual media space with simple, uplifting artwork made by kids for no other reason than to spread joy and spread positivity. The postcard project is expanding. We recently partnered up with the Malala Fund. Participant media and students stand with Malala, this entity created by Participant Media and the Malala Fund, to do a peace exchange focused on girls' education and its connection to creating peace. So the Peace Exchange is a simple, accessible tool for initiating the conversation. It gives any person who can write or make art an opportunity to express themselves and share their views for how we can create a better world. And it can be themed in any way you want. Really, peace is a pretty broad umbrella, and a lot of things fit under it. But I like it. So I see the postcard project expanding. I see hundreds of thousands of kids annually exchanging artwork and messages of peace. I see an online peace education platform for connecting schools and kids.
What does that look like to you? That's a broad, that's a big project, so I'd love to know what that looks like to you.
Yeah, it is a big project. It's almost like creating another social network that is purely focused on art, peace, and connection. It's a tool where organizations, Create Peace Project and lots of other organizations doing similar things, can plug projects in, and then schools can choose which project that they want to engage in, so that we can then have, a cross-cultural dialogue, a cross-cultural experience where similar projects are happening in different schools around the globe simultaneously. And there are, in Create Peace Project's repertoire, we have the postcard project, we have the banners project, we do murals. My colleague Lori Marshall, who I believe you spoke to, does her singing tree project. And then there are countless others. There can be things related to gardening and permaculture. There can be things related to social justice and the Black Lives Matter movement. There can be things related to water, to, any number of these beautiful causes that people are addressing, woven into this online platform for schools to choose. Basically, we create a menu that schools can pick from, and then we run a project for several months, and we get as many schools and groups to participate as are inspired.
Okay, how are you funding these things?
Oh, good. Funding is always welcome. Private funding primarily. A little bit of grant money has come in. Some corporate sponsorships are coming in, and we are looking for additional funding sources so that we can keep expanding.
Okay. How do you get your corporate sponsors? Are you out there speaking? Do you have somebody else doing that? I'm just curious. I think other people would love to know how you're getting corporate sponsors.
It's tricky. I haven't really secured the big donor yet, but I have contacts. I think corporate sponsorship is not, it's all relationships, really. It's like I've been navigating a network of people here in the Bay Area looking for ways to find my entry point into organizations. People inside of these big companies, they have their charitable departments, they have people that are dedicated to giving money away, and it's really about finding out who that person is and getting in front of them. It's tricky. It's taking me some time, several years, to get to this point where I feel like I'm prepared to really do the pitch. I have a presentation deck, I have slideshows, I have all sorts of promotional materials, documents and different things that I share with people to try and...
Well, you have so many results that are positive. I mean, that's when you can say you've been in these schools. And what are some of the changes that you've seen in communities abroad or in the schools? What are some of those changes that you've actually seen?
Well, for example, in the last few years, we've been focusing on these community building mural making experiences where we work with an entire student body. I'll be starting a mural project in the next 2 weeks with 600 students at a school here in Hayward, California. So every student in this school is going to paint, and we're going to work on a 1,200 square foot wall space, and it's going to be a huge collaboration. Over the last 2 years, we've done a similar thing in 6 different schools. I've worked with 500 kids, 400 kids, several times. And what I see happen are the schools basically transform. Everyone has painted, everyone has participated, everyone is feeling a sense of belonging, a sense of connection. They're contributing to the beautification of their school. Kids feel like their input matters. And I think that's really an important thing.
I think that's really critical, yeah.
Yeah,
that their voice is being heard, that they have a vision, that they can share it, they will be respected for it. I think those are huge, huge transformations if kids are feeling that.
And so much joy. There's so much pride and joy. Kids get excited about coming to school because they're doing something that they feel excited about, right? And I think that in and of itself creates a buy-in. It creates a sense of belonging. It gives kids a feeling that, like, wait, I matter, and what I'm doing at school is important. And once you have that, and you do it through art, which is fun most of the time. A lot of the time, I think when we get graded and evaluated, and we have this system of, unfortunately, of comparing each other, of evaluating our kids, that we get disenfranchised. I don't measure up. I'm not good enough. And when we make art, we abolish, or we don't evaluate, we don't judge, and we don't critique the kids. We simply encourage them to participate freely and in a fun way. And that then liberates them and creates a sense of joy and happiness and ease, so that they can go back to the classroom and do the math, read the book, do the science, and actually be more available to learn the other things.
I love that. That is wonderful. So we're going to go and try and finish up. I know it's a big question. What's the legacy you'd like to leave?
Say that again.
What's the legacy that you would like to leave?
What's the legacy? Well, I think it's happening, and I think the legacy is simply one that is, I have faith in people. I have faith in humanity. And I would like a legacy that, people see Create Peace Project as this beautiful organization that provides beauty and joy and happiness to the lives of so many, and that people are inspired to continue the process. We provide the tools and resources for schools and organizations and communities to continue to create positive change. And if the legacy is nothing more than, people are feeling good about where they are, where they live, and their community, then that's great.
Well, I think that idea of community engagement, of having pride in your community, it does create that sense of you're going to watch out for everybody. You're going to recognize the humanity in everybody and see the beauty of every person, and you will take more pride in your community and stand together to create more. That's my feeling. So I love what you're doing. I'm really thrilled that I got an opportunity to speak with you. And I have all these people I'd love to talk to you about. And so,
Great.
There's an artist in Chicago, Matthew Hoffman, who uses statements like "you are beautiful" all over the city, and he's passed out bumper stickers and buttons he's made similar to almost that people can engage in. So I think he's somebody that you could connect with. And there's just when you were saying you want this platform for schools to have a menu to choose, I love that, because my dream is to connect 1 million creative activists around the globe. And I don't know what that format looks like, but these are the kinds of pieces when we have these conversations and that we can share them and put them out there, and somebody say, oh my God, he's doing that, I want to bring it to my school, those kind of things. I think that's how we're going to change the world and really create this beautifully, spiritually fulfilling, sustainable planet and socially just world, and where everyone feels safe and empowered to be the best they can be. And so thank you so much for being who you are and having this conversation with me. This is Ray Luskin.
My pleasure.
And this is Ross. And again, do you have any final words for us, Ross?
Ray, I think I'd just like to say thank you. Create Peace Project is in a real pulse of growth right now, and if people are interested in learning more